Hey guys, Deathbyphiw here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a special video about who I think really needs a nerf. Stick around. Moira. My god, is she so freaking broken right now in the current patch. She is so strong and so good, and I'm going to tell you why. So Moira, as a support hero in most seasons, she dominates in medal ranks, but right now she's dominating not only in those medal ranks, but in higher elo, in Masters, GM, and beyond. She's by far one of the strongest picks in the game on support, and one of the easiest to play. I mean, she's definitely, we have to put into a subject of discussion to balance her due to her kit's unique blend of healing and damage capabilities. Right now, the meta is all about survivability, all about as much damage as you can output with the healing boost that people got through the last patch, and Moira benefited tremendously from this. You know, her damage got increased from 50 to 65 per second, and then her secondary fire target acquisition radius increased from 0.6 to 0.7 meters. 0.6 to 0.7 meters. Now it's so much easier for her to basically lock onto enemies and do damage. I mean, this improvement in target acquisition can make her more consistent and reliable in dealing damage, and it just further enhances her combat effectiveness. Like, she's just so strong. I'll start off with the basics. So her health increased from 200 to 250. Everyone got a health buff across the entire spectrum of Overwatch. So then they increased her damage from 50 to 65. So she got a 15 damage increase, which is actually a damage buff, because based on the HP ratio to damage ratio, she got a percentage increase, I think around 5% increase here. So she does now more damage than what she did before in comparison ratio to like the actual healing pools that people had beforehand. So now she's doing even more damage. She's doing more damage, and her ability to lock onto targets is easier. So that right alone makes her so much stronger. The other thing is, we're all about dive right now. So we have dive DPS and dive tanks, and now you're looking into dive supports. And Moira excels, being able to fade into enemy teams, do damage, or go up close with your dive DPS and tanks, do damage, and quickly fade out and survive. I mean, she has strong survivability tools in her kit. This fade allows her to quickly reposition or escape from dangerous situations. It's hard to pin her down for elimination, and you combine this with her self-healing from Biotic Grasp or just her healing orb that she throws out, she could be very risky and get a lot of reward and make it challenging for her to target, to deal with, and especially easy for her to flank and pair up with dive heroes. It just makes her completely broken, in my opinion. Then on top of that, her healing output is extremely high. She does like one of the highest healing outputs in the game. And with her HP buff, when she ults and uses her coalescence, I mean, you can heal your team and damage the enemy team at the same time. And I feel like you're winning team fights with Cole. Like, it's single-handedly turning the team fight and making you win them. I mean, it's so hard to lock her down and kill her, and she can fade in her coalescence and do a ton of damage and healing. Like, it's crazy. And then she gets all this healing output when she's calling as well. I feel like you can't kill Moira anymore when she's using her ultimate, and she can fade out and survive and do crazy risky things, and there's like such low risk for high reward. The other thing that I will say is, as a support main, right? I like playing Moira, but she's also the easiest hero in the game to play by far. People will argue and say, well, Mercy's easy to play. Well, Mercy doesn't have anything in comparison as far as offensive prowess that Moira has. Moira could hard carry games in top 500. Like, that's how good she is in the current meta. She has a low skill floor, but a high impact, and this makes her broken in the meta. Basically, her kit is so relatively easy to pick up and play compared to some other heroes, yet in skilled hands, she can have an extremely high impact in the game. You're talking about like top 500 players playing Moira. It's people who know the ins and outs of the game, have a high knowledge of the game, and won't do terrible positioning, can take crazy advantage. And I see Moira almost in every single game now. And I'm nearly top 500 at the moment. I think right now, as we speak, it's March 5th that I'm recording this video. Top 500 in support is Masters 3. Or Masters 2, and I'm halfway up Masters 4. So like I'm right there on the cusp. I'm playing with, you know, mid to high GM players every single game. So it makes it frustrating to play against her because the disparity in skill requirement to play Moira versus the impact that she can make. It just makes it so frustrating to play against, especially when playing with a really skilled Moira player on the enemy team. Like people will pick her up and just like, oh, she's easy to play. But if you really, people like one trick her and just play her at a high elo to begin with, it makes it really frustrating to play against that kind of player because she's excelling right now in the current meta. It's just so crazy. Now, when I say she needs a nerf and that she's broken, I don't mean gut the character. I don't mean gut the hero. I don't think any hero should get gutted. That makes them unplayable. I think Moira should be adjusted so that she becomes more of like an average kind of base tier hero to play. Something that I would do to make her a little bit easier to kill, I would remove her ability to fade in Coalescence. I think she has such high survivability with the health increase and her healing output alone while she's using her ultimate, that she doesn't need a repositioning tool. She doesn't need an escape tool with Cole. She does not need that fade to be able to be used while she's using Coalescence. Something else I would do is she didn't need a damage buff. And if she did, it should have been equivalent to what it was before percentage wise. She got a 15 damage per second increase, which I think is like overall in HP comparisons around 5 or 10% damage increase in comparison to HP pools before to now. She can go either back to 50 or decrease her damage to 60 by 5 per second. And that would even it out and make it on the baseline as how much damage she had prior to the HP buff to today. The other thing is, you didn't need to make it easier for her to suck, which is her secondary fire, her biotic grasp. She's super easy to aim with. It requires almost no aiming whatsoever. She didn't need that to be increased from 0.6 to 0.7 meters. They could revert that change and they could lower her damage and remove her ability to fade in Coalescence. And I think it would make her a little bit more balanced. I think she's a hard S tier. She's meta right now. I'm sorry. Argue with me in the comments. She is broken. Other big content creators probably put her in like A tier, maybe even high B tier. She's S tier. And there's no ifs, ands, ors, or buts about it. She's S tier. She's meta. I think she's better than Zen right now. And she's as good as Lucio. I see crazy comps. I see games where I'm playing Moira in comp with 10k heals and 15k damage and 40 limbs, and we're hard stomping and rolling the enemy team. I mean, if they're not running a Moira on the enemy team, they better be playing meta supports like Lucio, Zen, something like that, maybe a BAP. If they're playing anything other than that, you're losing the game if you're versing a Moira, especially someone who's skilled with it and you're playing a higher elo game. People are going to be good at the heroes that you play. So take that as it is. You know, overall, all the changes that she went through collectively enhanced Moira's survivability, her damage output, and combat effectiveness. It made her like a potentially super strong or broken hero in the game. I think if you balance these changes, like I mentioned, with adjustments to other aspects of her kit, that may be necessary. It would ensure that she remains fair and balanced in Overwatch 2. I mean, that low skill ceiling, high impact is pretty serious. And you can't disagree with me there. She's super easy to play and super high reward with low skill. You basically combine that with someone who's a high skill player with high IQ and high game knowledge. She becomes like unkillable and high impact in the game. You're talking about Moira's walking in with 10k plus damage and healing every game and 35, 40 limbs. That's crazy for support. Well, let me know what you think in the comments below. I personally think she should be nerfed. I think it's not good for the game when someone so easy to play is good. Like example, like Mercy is really good. Let's say she's really good, but she's not in the current meta. It just makes it so unrewarding, like from a DPS or tanks perspective, or another skill hero support player like myself who plays Ana, but I'm a flex support player at the moment. It takes the fun away from the game when someone so easy is meta and such a strong, solid pick. So let me know what you think, if you agree or disagree. But, Moira's S tier, and I'll leave it at that. And as always, happy gaming.